Okay. So I hear a lot of people talk about shit hits the fan and various things. This is my thoughts. Back in the 1800s, shit hit the fan from time to time in Texas. And they had a phrase that was one riot, one ranger. That's what they would do. When there was an area that got like that, they would send one dude. Let's talk about it. How does one man quell an armed insurrection of an entire town, basically? That's what this usually was. It was like a whole bunch of people just decided for whatever reason to go crazy. Some gang came through, whatever. There's a bunch of different things that happened back in the day. Why did they send one person? Well, they were strapped for people and funding and whatever, and Texas's answer to a state level law enforcement organization was the Rangers. So these guys were Indian fighters for the most part. They traveled the countryside in small bands, trying to wage war on the Comanche. And they did that because they were better at killing the Comanches, and the Comanches were at killing them, basically. So this is the person that they sent. So we can draw some conclusions about how they handled a riot. And I'm going to walk you through how I suspect it usually went down. Most Texas Rangers back in the day were skinny dudes that were light on a horse and good with a gun. There were others, but like usually it's some sickly looking cowpoke dressed darkly walks up to you and fucking says, "Well, the riot's over. Y'all go back to your homes now." And whenever one of them says, fuck you or whatever, they just keep rioting or whatever, you shoot one of them. Okay? And if that doesn't get their attention, you shoot another one. Then you shoot some more. Okay? You keep shooting people until people start listening to you. One riot, one ranger. That's how you handle this shit. You take command of the situation, and if there are people breaking the law and you tell them to stop breaking the law and they don't, you shoot them. And like this is the thing is when the Texas Rangers did this, they were packing a star and they were the law. They might be held accountable to a judge at some point, but here in the here and now, between God and the universe and the fair people of this town, they were the law. I think that's going to be where things are at again. In reality, whenever things break down, things aren't going to go to shit. Things are going to go to that. Okay. And there's very few people are up for that level of violence in reality, especially in today's day and age. What you're going to be facing mostly is probably a bunch of violent pissant looters that when they meet resistance will fucking run like the gutless curs that they are. Anyone who's not like that, you can probably talk to and deal with. But if you're dealing with mass mobs of fucking piss ants, you put a fucking bullet in the leader's head and ask if anyone else wants to negotiate. Or would you rather just leave? You know, the fifth element shit. Where did he learn to negotiate like that? I wonder. Probably the same place I did. 'Cause that's not true. No one learned to negotiate where I did. I learned from Grandpa. Oh, I miss that old fuck. It's the kind of man that would tell you, well, if he's bigger than you and you can't beat him in a fair fight, then find out where he sleeps and beat him to death with a bat. You know, a level of brutality mixed with common sense that most people don't have. And like in reality, the thing that makes common sense common is its brutality. It's what actually goes down. It's what actually happens. It's how the world actually works. And what I'm telling you is, in the 1800s, this shit happened before. And when it did, violence begets violence. And eventually, you know, somebody gets tired of shit. There are rangers in the here and now. And I don't mean army rangers. Like, this is a totally different thing. This is like someone who can exist out in the bush on their own for fucking forever. Like, if you want to look at the start of the modern Rangers or whatever, I would look at a mix of U.S. Special Forces from the GWAT era mixed with the van life people. Like, there's some shit to be learned from the van life people because they are existing relatively on their own. It depends on who they are. The Boondockers, anyway, exist relatively on their own, apart from society, for long stretches at a time. And this is in a nutshell why I'm building a minivan and I'm going to find some place where it's free to go park it. And I'm going to hopefully pay for a lot of this with art. That's my goal. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet. I'm researching art at the moment. Like, this is part of my thing is, you know why people don't make money at being an artist? It's because they just try to start selling some doodle that they made. Okay, like my art is complex. Like the things that I actually value that I would consider my art are like that black powder revolver and its holster. That shit's some fucking high art. The holster isn't everybody's taste anymore, but like it's for me, and I'm making a point about America. But the gun itself, I should really buy a few black powder revolvers and trick them out and modify them and sell them. I might do that. I don't know what I would get for one, but like that's half of the thing. Is like if I can get $1,000 for one that I've tricked out, yeah, I'll trick out a couple. If I can only get $50 more than what I paid, not gonna do that. And if I can only get $100 less than what I paid, which is what typically happens when I modify shit, it's not worth it to me. I have been thinking about modifying some shit and putting it on eBay or Gunbroker, depending on which one would be best. Like I'm gonna do that with the open L's, and I'm gonna do that with some shit to go on helmets. And I'm kind of trying to make swag for my radio show in a way. Seems like a good goal. There's some people that like this shit at least. And the helmet stuff is going to be legitimately cool stuff that you can't get anywhere else. It's not going to be, you know, My plans for shit to sell for helmets is like steel counterweights that have paint on them. That I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Each one's going to be individual. Everything from symbols and shit to you know, maybe even small paintings. I don't know. They're canvases. Let's work in spray paint on them. I want to do calculators too, but we've kind of gotten away from like the subject of what this video was about. The point is that this is sort of what I'm trying to like be in essence. Like if you really want to survive the shit that is to come, in my opinion, the person that's best set to do that in Texas and Oklahoma is a Texas Ranger of the fucking 19th century, but modernized. And like that's why like the black powder revolver and the night vision. Like I don't know exactly what we're gonna be doing or for how long. Like the black powder revolver is a sustainability kind of thing, and it's fun. Oh, I really wanted a weapon that shot projectiles that was not dependent on modern ammo so much, and I think a Colt revolver is a good choice. There's other things you can draw inspiration from for the 21st century Ranger. Should make this is the series really. I'm gonna make a series on the 21st century Ranger. Because like I don't know, there's a lot of options that you could do or whatever, but like the stuff that I have figured out for myself works. And my goal is not to be like the most badass combatant, whatever. It's I exist for a really long time all on my own, and I am very capable. And, as far as bugging out and, Red Dawn and all that shit, like, I don't know any of that's coming. With the way the world is right now, I kind of want to roam and wander around and whatever. And I think this sounds like fun, basically. And it's back to gear philosophy. Like, what is your end goal? Like, my end goal is to exist, basically. And I can do that out of the back of a minivan. So I'm building for that because that's the cheapest thing I could do, basically. If all else fails, the cheapest way to live right now in the United States is in the back of a van. And like it's not glamorous or whatever, but like I actually kind of dig the van I got going. Especially now that I figured out I'm gonna have like a twin bed and a seat in the back. It's kind of like a little home. It has a little living room, it has a little bed, it has a little kitchen, it has a closet or two. I don't know what else that needs. I wish I could make it EMP proof, but that just kind of is what it is. Oh, the backup vehicle is EMP proof. I have a scooter in there as a hey, what if the car broke down and we're on a highway and it's 10 miles to the nearest gas station? I'm gonna have some sort of thing I can put a gas can in on my back and have the scooter. That's kind of a not end of the world thing, but seems appropriate. That's another thing is like there's so much of America now that has pavement. It might behoove one to have some sort of thing that can go on the pavement. And skateboards and scooters and shit are small and can fit in vehicles. I don't think I would get roller skates because like you can't take them off. Bikes are kind of big. You could have a bike though, especially some of like the folding bikes and like the e-bikes. Like those are cool, especially if you're a different person than I am. Like I'm too big for most of those. Even if I finish losing the rest of the weight that I'm trying to lose, I'd still be too big for most of those. Most of those e-bikes have like a 200-pound weight limit. My bones weigh 200 pounds, something like that. I don't know what I would weigh at my skinniest, but quite a bit. Um, I've lost weight to the point that my family was like thinking I had cancer. In reality, I just decided I wasn't going to eat anymore. And yet I still weigh over 350 pounds. Some of that's muscle because like I have a tremendous amount of muscle from blacksmithing, and one of the fucking joys of my transition is losing some of that. Which, to be honest, I don't care about. Like, oh, I never had sexy muscles anyway. I never felt sexy as a man. I feel hot as shit now. Maybe that's not for everybody. Honestly, I don't think what I do is for most people, but I think I am kind of rare. So I make this as like an insight, at least into the trans world. Like this whole fucking like YouTube show is a big insight into a big section of the trans world that never talks at all. And like this is half of why I've gotten some messages from people that are like cross dressers or closeted and thinking that they might come out as trans and yada yada yada. Like this exists. There's a legion of us. I think the truth of trans porn is that yes, there are a bunch of men that just like to fuck bitches. There's a solid third to a half of the people that watch trans porn that are some sort of a trans woman in hiding, living out their fantasy life in their head at night. Okay? That's a large portion of the trans community still because they are still afraid to come out and like be me basically. Most trans people aren't me. I don't know exactly what's up with that. I don't know why I'm different than most of y'all. At least seems like maybe I'm just crazy. I'm not really afraid of shit. Like I think some of it's life experience. I've had many, many life experiences that teach me basically that you're full of shit most of the time. That's my opinion of most people that ever fucking talk shit about me or want to threaten me or whatever. Um, you don't scare me. Yeah. El Scorpion didn't scare me. And like that's something that most people don't get is I used to play poker with a guy named El Scorpion and a bunch of other people, but El Scorpion is the one we should end this show on. He he talked a little bit like this, man, and his favorite thing to tell people was that nothing makes a head come apart like a 38 Super. Nothing, man. It's the best cartridge on earth. He'd say shit like that while playing cards because he was a hitman for the cartel. And he would try to fucking shine you on just to win a hand of cards. He he and I did not hate each other. We didn't like each other either. It was one of those things like when people like us meet, he said some shit like that to me during our first hand of cards ever. In which case, at which point I kind of looked him in the eyes and was like, "Okay," and just went back to playing cards. But you can kind of see me doing that. Like you've heard me talk about various shit. You think you're gonna scare me by talking about heads coming apart? Okay, man. Did you see that fucking head come apart? That's fucking world, man. Okay, he didn't get that he was talking to Bunny from Platoon in a way. Like I'm here for the fucking violence. And as he came to be acquainted with me, he eventually, like, throughout that first time we were playing cards, it was very confrontational back and forth because he started at that. And, like, eventually he came and was like, "Man, you're kind of an asshole. I am kind of an asshole. I like you. I'm not going to kill you." At which point, it's like, "You were ever thinking about killing me?" Which we were at this point now in a seedy back room somewhere playing poker with just us and two other people. And at the point that he said that he had thought about killing me, I produced a pistol out from under the table, loaded and cocked, and pointed at his fucking head. I said, "If you ever think about killing me again, I will fucking put a bullet in your head." So that was El Scorpion, and that whole confrontation basically ended with us all being friends because he had no idea that I was getting ready to fucking kill him. That entire card game. I had had a fucking 1911 out under the table. It's one of those, you don't scare me because I'm worse than you. I was getting ready to Han Solo you under the fucking table. You shouldn't be worse than your enemies, but you should know what you are and who you are, and you should be comfortable in what you're doing, and that some of the things that you do are right with your God, not their God, not whatever, but like you need to live your life by your code and your religion, whatever that is. And part of my shit is when somebody like El Scorpion tries to start scaring you, uh, the correct response to that in my life has never been to back down. You don't back down from those people. Occasionally shoot them in the foot. I've shot a couple people in the foot. Not gonna go into details on that, but like Mexico is a very bad place to be left alone, shot in the foot. One of those. Why on earth would you ever fucking put someone out of their misery? That's the thing I really don't understand. Like, oh, Ray Ray talks like a serial killer sometimes or some shit. I've gotten that before. Oh, I'm so much worse, honey. I'm a serial lifer. I don't believe in killing you. This is kind of what I believe in general about punishing people. Uh, Physical pain lasts a while. Death doesn't last at all. and emotional damage lasts a lifetime. So, why would you kill a man if you can take his pride? It's much more effective, in my opinion. This is probably in a nutshell why I shouldn't go to Mexico. I don't care. Like, I count myself by the greatness of my enemies or whatever, and like my enemies include the cartel. Shit. Like this is somewhat in a nutshell too, like why this whole podcast, the why one riot, one ranger, 21st century ranger shit is the rangers were to protect us from the Comanches. The Comanches were the reason that this place wasn't owned by Mexico. So now we have cleared out northern Mexico of Comanches. We've run our own shit into the ground. Now we're being invaded by these fucks. Eventually the cartel is going to be here in enough force that they own this place. And Texans, you can be on your own or whatever. I don't care. Oklahoma belongs to me, not the cartel. I live here. There's several other people that it doesn't belong to too, but let's just focus on the cartel for now. Like, I don't know where that ends, but I'm hoping the state of Oklahoma takes care of it. I don't think they will. I think we're going to go into full collapse, and the cartel is going to be the only thing left around here, which is in a nutshell why combat kit is so high on my priority list now. Because I intend to be the one ranger in Tulsa. We won't have riots here. That's, maybe a kind of a dark thought or whatever, but like, if it comes to that and it's the end of the fucking world and there are cartel rape gangs roaming the streets and it's not safe for my grandma no more, I think we're going to find out a lot of shit about a lot of people when that happens. To be honest, I can't wait for this collapse of society because really what we're watching is the collapse of Europe and the East. We're not watching the collapse of the West. We're watching the collapse of back East, and it should collapse. Honestly, those people have run their states into the fucking ground. I think we're going to see, if you know your history in the 30s, a whole bunch of fucking Oklahomans went to California. Go watch Grapes of Wrath. I think we're about to see the exact opposite happen, and it's already started with the fucking people just moving. A lot of people moving, right? Well, people don't just up and move across the country or whatever. There's Grapes of Wrath shit already starting. The Grapes of Wrath shit starts when people like me that don't have enough money to move across the country, really. At least not without selling a bunch of assets and shit that they don't want to sell. The way that I would move is loading everything that I want to keep in my van, putting the dog or cat in it, and leaving. And that's what people did back in the 30s. They loaded their fucking cars with valuables. And some of them even had horse-drawn wagons and shit going to California. Anyway, that's what I'm kind of preparing for, is something along those lines. Maybe it's having to bug out because of whatever. Maybe it's, the dust bowl happens again and we have to go somewhere else. Maybe it's fucking the cartels here and we have to go somewhere. Like, there's all sorts of reasons to be able to move. And I, one of my main criticisms of the people that I've gotten that respond to my shit is I talk about bugging out a lot because I'm going to be bugging out. Uh, their main contention is that is stupid because home is where all your shit is. I get that. I have a plan to bug in too. That's plan A. Okay. Staying at home is easy. You get that, right? Like, what are you gonna like? I don't have fucking plywood on the windows. I'm not gonna do that shit. No one's gonna know I'm here, bitch. Okay. I'm gonna be someplace squirreled up, and if people come into my property, I'm gonna kill them. Welcome to the end of the world. Not fun to think about, but like that's in reality, that's bugging in. Is you're gonna find some small room and black out the windows on the back of the house or some shit and fucking just stay in the room for a while. Hide. Hiding is a good strategy. Smeagol up. And like that's not a long term plan. Eventually you have to come out. And this is what the bug out vehicle is for. Because wherever you are, it's probably not going to be somewhere you want to stay. If it is, good, you won. If it's not, this is what the vehicle's for. And this is why having a fucking piece of shit vehicle that no one wants to steal, probably a good idea. Like my bug out vehicle has been chosen rather particularly. I'm making something no one else is going to want, pretty much. And I don't know. I'm going to probably be fucking living in it. So there's that too. Well, I hope this has been interesting to someone. These are my thoughts, though, on the end of the world and the 21st century Ranger. I'm going to add that to the title of this 21st century Texas Ranger. See you guys later.